ever read the children's book, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie? If you give a mouse a cookie, he's gonna want some milk to go with it. Then he'll need a straw, and he'll want to make sure that he doesn't have a milk mustache, but when looking in the mirror, he decides he needs a little shave, which means he'll have to sweep up the fur, but he might end up sweeping up the whole house and washing the floors, which will make him want to take a nap. Geez, that mouse seems pretty distracted. What about you? Have you ever been pulled away from something you have to do, like homework, by like the most random YouTube video? Have you ever been interrupted by something and you look up and you've wasted a whole hour? We get distracted all the time, don't we? And this isn't uncommon. There's actually people in the Bible who get distracted, even by things that might be good for them. So how do we keep focus on what's most important and get the job done? The cool thing is that the Bible shows us examples of this and what our man of the hour, Nehemiah, did to block those distractions out. Okay, now, before we get to our Bible story, it's time for our game of the week. And this game is simply called Breakfast. That's right, everyone's favorite meal, arguably the most important meal. I'm going to put a question on the screen, and there are 5 possible answers. So maybe get the notes section of your computer, open a document, get a piece of paper, something, and you're going to write down what you think these 5 answers are. And the question is, name a popular breakfast item. 5 different answers. What do you think is the most popular breakfast item? I'll give you 5 seconds. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, time's up. Okay, we're going to reveal the answers from last to first. Keep track of how many points you get and let me know in the comments section how many points you scored. The 5th answer for the most popular breakfast item, worth 4 points, is ding, a bagel. All right, do we love bagels? New York bagels? That's actually the only one I know. But bagels, 4 people liked it. All right, and the 4th answer, worth 6 points. This is one of my favorite meals. It fills me up. Bing! Oatmeal. That's right, oatmeal, the 4th most popular breakfast item. Now on to number 3. I think a lot of you love this. Bing! Pancakes. Pancakes are the 3rd most popular breakfast item. I thought they would have been first. The second one of my, actually, I'm a little partial to this one. And you'll figure out in a second because, bang! Bacon. That's right, Taylor Bacon loves bacon. I actually don't love bacon that much, but here it is. The 2nd most popular item, worth 21 points. That was a huge score. And this last one, worth 57 points. If you guessed this one, you may have won the game. Ding! Eggs. Eggs and bacon, the perfect combination, but eggs is our most popular breakfast item. Now I'm hungry, I'm gonna go eat some breakfast. And it's time for our Bible story. So for the entire month of September, we've been talking about Nehemiah. And if you haven't joined us at all, either in person or here on YouTube, you can go to our YouTube channel, First United Methodist Church of Baton Rouge, and you can click on the playlist, Preteens at Home. And that'll give you all the videos you want, but especially these past 2 weeks about Nehemiah. Okay, so there were people in the surrounding lands that weren't so thrilled with what Nehemiah was doing with the walls. And you have to understand that a city with no walls was defenseless. It's kind of like Alderaan against the Death Star. Anybody know Star Wars? But anyways, like anyone against the Mandalorian. The villains, the antagonists of this story are 2 guys named Sanballat and Tobiah. Sanballat was a Horonite and Tobiah was an official from Ammon. Both of those surrounding groups didn't want Jerusalem to be strong. These guys stood off to the side, poking at Nehemiah and tossing out verbal jabs at every single moment. And Nehemiah kept his cool. Instead of fighting back or giving in to these really annoying people, he simply said this: "We serve God, and He will help us rebuild these walls." See, Nehemiah knew that he couldn't get this job done without God's help. It was too big of a task. And one thing he did in the meantime, though, was to take a look at all of the helpers and assign them to individual jobs around the city. That meant that no one person was doing too much of all the work. Instead, lots of people were all working together. The problem with that? Not many people were actually builders. They had priests, nobles, goldsmiths, perfume makers, farmers, grape growers, shepherds, but not a lot of builders. So to make it a bit easier, Nehemiah had each family group work on a section of the wall closest to their own home. Every age, men, women, even kids, they were all helping rebuild the wall. And in a short amount of time, the walls started to look less like piles of rubble and more like walls again. Well, those two guys we talked about earlier, Sanballat and Tobiah, couldn't even believe it. They were shocked. They started in again, openly mocking anyone who was working on the wall. But they all ignored them again. Instead of losing focus, Nehemiah kept working. And he prayed. Our God, please listen to our prayer. Some people hate us. They're saying bad things about us. So let others say bad things about them. Let them be carried off like stolen goods. Let them be taken to another country as prisoners. Don't hide your eyes from their guilt. Don't forgive their sins. They have said bad things about the builders. And the people kept working and working and working. The wall was now halfway done. And this did not sit well with Sanballat and Tobiah. They needed a plan. They began to plot and scheme with the surrounding nations to attack Jerusalem before the wall could be finished. But, Nehemiah caught wind of their plans and stationed guards to surround the wall and defend the workers. And Nehemiah and the Jewish people worked day and night until finally the wall was finished. Let's hear it for Nehemiah and the workers. Woo! Yay! Nehemiah and the workers had one last job, the gates. So they set forth to finish this one last part. And Sanballat and Tobiah, they weren't finished either. They were furious at this point. They even tried a few last-ditch efforts on Nehemiah. Nehemiah stayed focused, though, finishing up. 4 more times, Sanballat sent messengers to try to get Nehemiah to stop building the gates. And through all of the tricks, the ones where Sanballat and Tobiah, to make Nehemiah look bad, the ones where they told him a friend wanted to meet him, Nehemiah saw right through all of them. And on the 52nd day, the wall was completely finished. It had been completed in record time by a group of ordinary, everyday people. It was clear to everyone that God had helped Nehemiah and the Jews stay focused and finish strong. I'm not sure if it's the same for you, but Nehemiah was interrupted and distracted at every single turn. There were lots of things that could have taken his attention away. He could have felt completely overwhelmed by all the work and by the challenges he and the people had to face. But he led them to stay focused and trust God. And I think that's the key takeaway here. He trusted God. God's faithful, and he can give us the strength to finish his work. When distractions came, Nehemiah stayed focused and prayed to God. Nehemiah stayed, and Nehemiah prayed. When there's something you need to do, don't let random things distract you. Don't let people who are making unwise choices distract you, and ask God for help, and trust that he will give it to you. And now, it's time to reveal the question. What distracts you from doing what needs to be done? What are things that you know you can't have around when trying to do something like homework? And how can you recognize when something is just an interruption versus something that's really important?